That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia, this is... This is Houston, AOS, over.
Welcome, everyone, to the TKW Podcast. I am Anthony Corbo. You can find me at Corbo Anthony on Twitter. I am joined, as always, by Kyle Maggio at Kyle Maggio. What's going on, brother?
Not a whole lot, man.
I thought you were coming out with heat on this one. I thought...
I overthought it.
Yeah, apparently. Undersold. Bryan Gibberman.
What's up, everyone?
And joining us this week on TKW Pod, we have famous to Knicks Twitter and close in all of our hearts, David Futernick. How you doing, man?
What's up? It's good to finally be on with you, boys.
Hell yeah, dude. It's a long time coming.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do some early plugging. You can follow David Futernick at David Futernick on Twitter. We make it real easy on you guys. I feel like it's underappreciated. You are an actor.
No clever name for my my handle.
No, none of us.
No. I am an actor, yes. I pretend to be other people.
You've had roles on shows like you've been on Transparent, you've been on Shameless. Mm-hmm. I had a question about one of your shows. You were on a show on Amazon called Bosch, is that correct?
That is correct.
I've not seen Bosch, but is it in any way related to Chris Bosch?
No. Has nothing to do with Chris Bosh. Unfortunately, there's no connection to the NBA whatsoever. No, it's just a cop.
Oh, okay. Potential future career for Chris Bosh.
Oh, I would have loved to have teamed up with Chris Bosh.
You were on last night too. You were on Adam Ruins Everything, right?
I was. Yeah. I pop on there a little bit. So I was an old College Humor guy, and they produce Adam Ruins Everything, so they bring in kind of the old College Humor crew and stuff.
Well,
but yeah,
I have a short time question for you. So, yes. What was the were you on one episode of Shameless or multiple?
One episode.
Okay, what episode was that? I was gonna go back and watch it before the podcast. Which episode was that?
I think it was season 6. It's like William H. Macy's grandson gets in trouble for doing a book report on Mein Kampf, and I'm like his Jewish teacher, who like calls him in, and William H. Macy comes in and gives me an earful about the First Amendment and whatnot. But
and thank you for asking, Bryan, because I was wondering as well, because I live in Chicago. Like I've seen nice. Shameless. I've lived in Chicago for like 6 years now. I've seen pretty much all of Shameless. I dropped off towards the end there. I don't know, but
it's gotten a little crazy as the seasons have gone on. But
I'm waiting for a big catch up. I feel like that's what I need with the show. Is I just gotta do it all in one sitting or a week or so. But yeah, I was wondering which character you played on that show, and now I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. Most importantly, though.
The Jewiest like teacher. I'm like wearing a yarmulke. It's the role I was born to play. That's why I grew my beard out.
Yeah, I mean, all things, it all works out in the end, right?
Exactly.
Anthony, you're not allowed to steal my thunder here. I'm going first. So I've been dating Emmy Rossum for about 3 years.
And fuck right off, dude. This is...
Can you let her know for me, please?
Do you have a line to Emmy Rossum?
No, I wish I did. I'd instead of date her, I'd rather just have her Knicks seats. But
that's true.
I would have a line to her.
Yeah, if there was ever a reason to be friend zoned, I feel like those seats are definitely one of them. You have a basketball podcast of your own.
I do.
It's called Super Hoopers.
Yes, it's far less serious than this podcast. We don't really break a whole lot down. It's more of like roasting the NBA's news each week. Big losers.
I think you're underselling yourself. I think you're underselling yourself because, well, before we get into the basketball side of things, that show may have the best podcast intro outro that I've heard.
Oh, thanks. I had nothing to do with it, but so a friend of John Hill's, who's one of my co-hosts, he goes by DJ Nice Rec, and he used to produce a bunch of stuff for Mac Miller and stuff, and he made that for us. So shout out to Nice Rec. He's very talented.
Definitely professionally done. It's a great way to end things at the end too, knowing that the hour that you just listened to was a waste.
Exactly.
But it's a good podcast. I recommend everyone go check that out.
Thank you.
Quick plugs for us too. Just go follow us on Twitter. All of us, you heard our ads before. Follow the Knicks Wall. Follow TKW Podcast. Find us on Twitch, our YouTube channel too. It's not only this podcast. We got highlights that go up there. Pretty much any kind of video content we do, you're going to find up there. Check out the knickswall.com, as usual, as you always do already. Mike Cortez at Cortez Era on Twitter has a preview up for Washington's game on Thursday. So after you listen to this pod, you can go get caught up before the game. And all right, David, you grew up in Huntington, in my native land of Long Island, right?
Now this is where I'm gonna let you down.
No.
I was born in Huntington.
Okay.
I lived there for a few years, but I grew up in Hartford, Connecticut, which is why I had
Kyle's territory.
Yeah. I have much more Connecticut pride than Long Island pride, so apologies.
So you're pulling a mellow.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm like definitely from Brooklyn for sure. Yeah, what a homecoming for me. No connection to Baltimore whatsoever. I mean, I have a lot of New York pride. Most of my family's from there. I still have a lot of family on Long Island. But
that just kind of goes to show that you were cursed with the New York Knicks, as we all were.
Yeah, exactly. It's a much better time to be a Boston fan, which is, where I grew up, it's split.
That makes sense, yeah.
So, way better time when we were kids to be a New York fan, and now it's way better to be a Boston fan. So
it was a vicious turn of events.
Yeah, but better your teams are good when you're a kid, I think, than now. I feel like losses are much more crushing when you're like you guys are a little younger than me, I think, but 1994 was like the most crushing thing that ever happened to me.
Nah, that's true, because I remember after I think it was the 2000 World Series with the Yankees and the Mets. The Yankees lost one game, and I went to my room and cried. I was furious. My mom tried to console me. She's like, "It's just one game. It's a whole series. They're gonna win." And I was like, "No, it's unbelievable." It's true.
There's so many angry Mets fans listening right now. They're like, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and deservedly so.
You were sad about that one game and then won the World Series. Oh, go.
As if people could find more reasons to get mad at Kyle Maggio for they now have more ammunition.
I tweet far less from my personal account now, and whenever I tweet, I manage to piss more people off every single time. It's unbelievable.
You're filling a niche.
Wow, that's so good.
You've been doing it to me for 2 years now, so just twice a week, man, just driving me insane. So we have a couple of different places you could start tonight. We obviously don't have any games to go through since the last podcast, but we have some trade rumors. We got a preview for the game tomorrow. We have a lot. David, do you have any particular direction you want to start in here?
We can start with the trade rumors. I guess that's the buzz today.
So yeah, I would say that's probably the most pressing here. Right before we started recording this, it's Wednesday night as we record, about 8:30 on the East Coast. Some rumors started popping up around Twitter that Noah Vonleh might be in consideration for a trade to the Philadelphia 76ers. And that's about as far as been reported since since we started recording. There's not really too much more to read into there, but if we're making assumptions here, and let's assume that they're serious about these discussions, what are the Sixers going to offer back to the Knicks for Noah Vonleh? Like, what pieces do they have to deliver? I feel like they're either going to oversell or the Knicks are going to feel undersold.
Yeah, I mean, they can offer Fultz, which, I mean, is he ever going to be a good player? I mean,
is he ever going to be on the court is really the bigger question.
I mean, that too. Everything surrounding him seems like such a disaster. The Knicks have enough projects. The last thing they need is to bring in a kid like that. It seems like his camp is all screwed up. It's like, is he hurt? Is he not hurt? Is he just screwed up in the head? So the only other piece would be Zaire Smith, and I mean, he's coming back from a rough injury, and I don't know. The thing is, look, Vonleh has been so good this year. You knew that teams were going to be interested in him, and to be honest, I was really I was not counting on him coming back as a next year anyway. So,
see, I think us on this podcast to this point, and everyone can go back and listen if they really wanted to, we'd appreciate the extra, listens in there. But all of us on this to this point have been pretty pro re-signing Vonleh at a reasonable cost this summer.
That's the ticket, though.
Right.
At a reasonable cost. I think he played himself into a better contract,
To this point, I would agree with you. I think we've been kind of talking about the somewhere on the 8 to 12 range as where we've all fallen so far this season, 8 to 12 million per year. I don't really know how many years.
The Ron Baker.
Yeah. That name has been, we can't say that name around here. Bryan goes into a Hulk-like fit, and it's getting to be uncontainable at this point.
Just crippling depression sweeps over Bryan when he comes up on this podcast.
Depression and just anger, followed by anger.
We will not slander Ron Baker. Take it all back before you even say it.
But
Can't even go to save bars anymore without thinking of him.
Right. I mean, and as Kyle was prone to say earlier today, we can laugh because Ron Baker will not be in London, even though he was signed with both teams who are playing in London this year, and that is a travesty. It
really is. He would have given great London content too.
Right.
The greatest London content.
All right. Well, we'll circle back to Vonleh. We need to talk about this Knicks London content so far. And did you see the Abbey Road photo today?
I saw it.
Yeah. First of all, you're not supposed to take that picture at night.
No.
It looks so shitty.
There's so much to talk about with this picture.
The Wizards already took one that looks way better, and it's has 4 people in it.
Well, I've not seen that one.
I was like, it looks like I forget how many people are in the Knicks picture, but they're all clustered in.
There's 5.
Poorly lit. You're doing this completely wrong. I'm as a Beatles fan, I was very offended.
My favorite part about it, they even have the mascot in there and everything?
Right.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's well done.
They actually did some planning.
My favorite part about it is there's a woman in the photo who's just walking towards the Knicks players in the sidewalk with her phone in her hand and just clearly not giving a fuck about whoever was running social media for the Knicks that day. A brilliant thought to do, but probably should have been thought out, a couple of weeks at least in advance. There was also a yoga session in what looked to be a very old church of some sort. Did you guys see this?
Yeah.
They're just really leaning in hard here. But I will tell you, there is a company who's doing this completely right. This whole, London trip, this basketball, intercontinental basketball thing we do every year. That company is Puma. The way that they're trotting Kevin Knox out there.
It is awesome. Sitting on the throne and
Puma Hoops.
It is pretty awesome.
Yeah, pumahoops.com/TKW Podcast. Let them know that you came from us.
One day.
One day, man. Let's get back to this Vonleh thing real quick. 8 to 12 million for. Is there a maximum amount of years that they can sign him for? Is there any kind of contract stipulation for him? Because I kind of feel like if you give him $10 million a year for 3 years, is that on the short side of it?
I mean, I don't know. You guys probably know better about contracts than I do, but that seems fair.
That seems long.
3 years seems long?
Yeah.
I feel like 4 years seems long. I mean, I don't know.
I wouldn't do 4.
No way.
I think they should try to get him for a 2-year deal with like an option for the 3rd year. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're gonna do. I personally didn't think he was gonna resign after the year was up. Just the way they talk about the team, I wasn't sure that they were. But either way, you got to look at it with Vonleh is if you move, I think they can still sign him in the summer even if they move him. So
right,
they should try to get. He's clearly been, their most balanced player, arguably the best player on this team this season. So you should just try to capitalize on that. There's no guarantee that he's going to re-sign if you keep him. You could always re-sign him anyway. It changes nothing. If you really liked it here, he could always come back. But I would just try to. Yeah, I think you got to try to capitalize. I don't know what they can get from Philly, but I don't know. Well, whether or not he resigns here, I think you got to try to do it.
The thing about we don't know how he would mentally handle being traded, and if you'd be like, oh, these guys traded me, they don't really want me, so I'm not going to consider going back there. That's something I think you have to take into consideration. I was just going back and forth with the Sixers beat writer to just try and get a feel for what they thought about the situation. And he doesn't think, now this is nothing that he is reporting, it's just his own thoughts based on being around the team, that he didn't think that the Sixers would give up Smith or Fultz. Plus, they wouldn't be willing to take on a long-term contract for an expiring contract in terms of Lee or Hardaway. So in that sense, it just doesn't seem like anything would really line up to make sense, even though Bondi from the Daily News reported that there was interest.
It just feels like the Sixers would be giving up too much. It feels like Knicks fans are kind of treating this circumstance with how they value Noah Vonleh similarly to how Dallas fans have been treating the Dennis Smith Jr. conversation with him potentially being on the trade market now. Apparently, it's been reported that both sides are looking to split at this point. And then there's been a couple of teams tossed around, specifically Phoenix, Orlando is in there, and then the Knicks as well. The trade that's been talked about is Dennis Smith Jr. along with wow. Okay, hold on. Let me take that back 1 second. Dennis Smith Jr., there's a lot of S's in this sentence, along with Wes Matthews for Tim Hardaway Jr. and Frank Ntilikina. Given how this fan base and us at times of this podcast have treated Frank Ntilikina this season, I have a jersey that says Smokes on the back of it. This would probably not be a popular move, but is it the right move, Kyle?
Now, I've gotten yelled at by a fair number of people since yesterday, and I thought it was like a really logical take that I had, and some folks just simply did not agree with me. So I thought it's pretty fair if you were going to offer Timmy and Frank Ntilikina for Dennis Smith Jr. and Wes Matthews, just some package based on that. I thought that was pretty fair because Timmy is an asset, obviously, but he does have a big contract. You need to clear space, so you're basically in one shot. You're clearing the cap that you would need anyway, that you've been trying to clear, and in doing that, you give yourself a good chance or a better chance of getting potentially 2 free agents this summer, I believe. And you also still get to retain a lottery talent in Dennis Smith Jr. And I think it's fair too because I think people and he does have weaknesses. I'm not trying to absolve him of that, but he's I think 6 months younger or older, sorry, than Frank Ntilikina. Like they're basically the same age, and Frank to this point hasn't shown to be a very consistently good basketball player. As much as we love him, it's maddening. It's just who he is right now. But Dennis Smith Jr., for all his faults, has been, an NBA player. He's been a young player, but an NBA player. So I believe from, people who know the Mavericks better than we do, said that he's improved his defense a little bit more this season. His shooting percentages are all up by at least 5 or 6% across the board. Whether you look at the basic box scores or the advanced numbers, they're all up. I mean, there's things he can still improve on, obviously, but he's playing a little bit of off position now in Dallas. So, I mean, to me, I'm seeing a guy who's actually still developing. And it's just weird how people seem so out on him, and just seem like, well, he is who he is. He's an empty stats guy. He's a Steve Francis 2.0. And then in the same breath, turn around and go, well, we need, Frank's better because he needs to develop. And it's a very strange conversation to be had. But I think it would be worth it.
Yeah, I think he got early knocks when he got drafted because of attitude issues. So I think he sort of has that attached to him, and I think that makes Frank kind of goes about his business, and that helps him a lot in people's patience with him. Whereas Dennis Smith Jr. is was a lot more cocky and had issues with his coach at times when he was in Louisville, and I think that affects the way people perceive him. But also, it's like. We get him. We still have a point guard issue. It's like I feel like the Knicks are just never going to have a point guard.
It's just for me, it's a question more of fit. I think there's been a lot of talk going around that Frank Ntilikina is destined to be a 2 guard at this point. People are more encouraged to see what he looks like off the ball, but at the same time, I don't know if that means you necessarily should. I think he could be a really good fit as time goes on. It's the kind of ceiling on him has become a little bit more clear. I feel like in the last couple of, maybe the last year or so from this calendar date. But I feel like that doesn't mean the ceiling is low. It just means that he's not going to be, a 30-point, 10-assist guy in the NBA. He's going to be maybe a little bit more of a supplementary player, but I think he's going to develop into a guy who's going to be able to play in just about every lineup. So for me, it's more of a question of fit, where I think that Frank Ntilikina, in the long run, even if they can keep him around and potentially on a little bit lower of a contract than maybe initially anticipated, Frank Ntilikina, I think, will be a better fit in the long run with this team than Dennis Smith Jr. And even though you're getting rid of Hardaway's money, I don't know. Maybe I'm still just too biased to the situation, but it just doesn't seem worth it to me. Where are you standing, Bryan?
I agree.
I see both sides of this. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer here, and I know we're supposed to have hot take opinions, but there is logic to the trade and getting off the contract. But for me, when I'm looking at Frank versus Dennis, and I think Kyle is right that people are writing off Dennis too early, and there's room for him to develop and him to get much better as a player. I like the fit of Frank with other star players. If you're going to go, say the point of getting off Hardaway's contract is to go out and get 2 stars, whether it be Kyrie and KD, Jimmy Butler, some sort of duo like that. And Dennis Smith doesn't fit as well with those guys as someone like Frank does. I'd rather keep Frank than use your picks to get rid of a contract if you need to at that time, because your picks will be devalued considering the type of talent that's going to be on the roster. So I know they have this hard, fast rule about not trading picks right now. That's dumb, number one. You should never have a hard, fast rule about trading picks. You should always keep your options open. But secondly, that's a good way to maximize your draft picks if you're going to get top-tier talent like that, because then you'll be more attractive for the vet minimum guys, and you're going into a win-now mode right away. So I like the Frank fit with the stars versus Dennis, and that's why I would keep Frank over Dennis Smith.
So let me ask you this. Let's go back to the point on the Knicks rule with trading first round picks and everything like that. I think it was Bill Simmons' podcast today. He had Zach Lowe on. They were talking about the Knicks for a moment, and I forget exactly who they were referring to, but we can just kind of take it as, any kind of player or asset that you think would be of value for this. But he specifically threw around the 2021 first round pick. That I think Simmons said something along the lines of, and I could be misquoting, but I believe it was something along the lines of, they should move this pick because they should bet on themselves that they'll be good at that point. Or that, perhaps they will think that. They will think that they're good at this time, so they should bet on that 2021 pick and try to move it along with maybe someone like Tim Hardaway Jr. to free up cap space. I guess I'm kind of curious twofold, and anyone can kind of take this, but at what point do you think it becomes more acceptable for the Knicks to start moving their picks a little bit more freely? And do you think that moving Hardaway this summer, is imperative? They should be maximizing getting 2 max free agents. David, you want to kick that off?
Sure. I mean, I would like nothing more than to get rid of Hardaway's contract. But the fact that we're like, we need to make the playoffs at least to start saying like we can get rid of a first round pick in 2 years. I think they're not even close to that. And I mean, how many off seasons now have we had to suffer through? So and so is coming. We're gonna get this guy. We're gonna get that guy, and then it doesn't happen. So I think they're in no place right now to get rid of a first rounder. I don't know. I think I don't know.
No, you should never say never, but it would. The approach that they've had so far, I think, is correct. Like I don't think they actually mean like there's no circumstance in which they're going to trade a pick, but I just think as like a general rule of thumb, they're going to be like, look, if we have to give up a pick, we'd prefer to find another way, or just not. I guess do unless they're going to blow you out of the water, like not do the deal. But I think it's fine to kind of operate that way. It's patience has been good for them so far in the last year and a half or so. So
exactly.
I don't know what it is. Maybe this is a hot take. I have a feeling that it probably won't happen during this season, but in the off season, maybe around the draft, the Knicks 2021 first round pick will be traded along with Hardaway to clear up some space.
There's no reason to do that unless you have a guy signed. Like,
right.
That's what I'm wondering about.
Right. If Kevin Durant is already signed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
if it's happening, then I think that they'll move off that first round pick without really, without batting an eye at it, really.
Right.
And then you also want to put protections on it. There's no reason to trade anything with protections. There's no rush for any of this. Like we've gone down this route before. Like when they dumped all the guys for the LeBron summer, they did it a year and a half in advance, and they ended up with a team that was probably worse than the team that they broke apart.
Let's take a step back for a second. I have a question for Kyle. Kyle,
yep.
You mentioned today that there was an incident with some chicken heads. Can you explain?
Oh, okay. So, as everybody knows, unfortunate things happen to me at strange times.
And also, let's go into the story as everyone knows because they've listened to this podcast before. But David probably doesn't know you're a vegan.
Oh, I know, guys. I'm an avid
okay.
TKW listener.
Okay, I appreciate that.
I'm aware that Kyle has made that unfortunate choice in his life and doesn't eat real food.
You're listening to a man who would like to be back on this podcast at some point. But Kyle, you're a vegan.
Yeah, so I did make a terrible choice, and so I'm a vegan. But we recently switched the dogs over to feeding them raw meat as opposed to the dry food. So we got just these boxes of chicken necks. So I split them up in the morning, and I went through a couple of boxes since we did this with no issues. And then this morning, I go in, I'm using the tongs, and I'm like, oh, this is a really big neck, and I put it in the bowl, and it's a chicken head, and I almost had a heart attack.
I like to think
my heart stopped.
I feel like the first time I heard this story, you didn't say that you were using tongs. You were just reaching in there with your hands.
Oh no, I'm not a fucking animal, Anthony. What the fuck?
Oh, okay.
Jesus.
You never know with those mitts.
Oh my. So anyway, I was using tongs. Yeah. Why wouldn't I use tongs?
When you said the chicken head story, I thought this could go a few different ways.
Yes.
These are literal chicken heads.
Literal chicken heads.
The thing that I really love about this, though, and maybe I find it more interesting than others, but I mentioned to you that I like the logic. I think it's good that you're feeding your dogs real food, everything like that. You know, we hear so many stories about the pet food industry and how they, are just selling our animals garbage, but and we buy it. But just the contrast of you, the vegan, Mr. Morningstar himself, pulling a chicken head out of a bag to give to your completely carnivorous and enormous dogs. I don't know. It just made me giggle. It
is. And the worst part of that is after I put the chicken head back in the bag in a panic, I then reached across to the other side of the bag to try to get, to finish putting the necks in the bowl. And I picked out yet another chicken head. It was really, really quite the start for me today.
The crazy thing is the dog witnessed this, and now the dog chose to become a vegan too. So
yes, he understands meat is murder. So
yeah.
Is there a vegan option for your dogs?
No. Did you guys ever hear that? Do you guys ever watch Joe Rogan stand up?
I've not.
He has this bit about I guess on Instagram he found a hashtag for vegan cats, and they all looked sickly and like they were gonna die. So I would never.
Mello cannot go on a vegan diet.
No. I used to be a cat owner, and when I lived in New York still, and my girlfriend at the time was raw vegan, and she asked the vet if the cat could be vegetarian, and the vet said dogs can be vegetarians, but cats can't, because cats have to feel like they killed something.
I understand. That makes a lot of sense to me, actually, because I have a long-standing theory that cats are just not even from this planet. But Kyle, your dog is big.
Spit my water up.
Yeah, wasn't expecting that one, Anthony.
But Kyle, your dog is larger than your wife.
Oh, yeah, no, he quite literally, factually is.
No,
so.
that's completely true. Your dog, I feel like if it didn't eat meat for a period of hours, may end up with some kind of health issue. Like that thing just looks like it needs to constantly be gnawing on a turkey leg in order to sustain life.
I don't even think he chews the bones that I feed him. It scares me. I was going to talk to my therapist about it. It was a joke, but he really doesn't chew the bones.
He's got like an Eddie Curry thing going on.
So the Knicks are in London right now, and they are due to play a game later on against the Washington Wizards. I feel like the biggest news that's come out of that so far is Mitchell Robinson is probably going to make a return. I believe David Fizdale. I'm just calling him David Robinson. I believe David Fizdale said that he will be listed as questionable, but barring any setback in practice, he will be playing. I feel like this couldn't come at a better time for the Knicks. Obviously, Vonleh has started at center with Cornette kind of coming back to earth a little bit, and Cantor, is not with the team, fearing for his life. So, yeah, Mitchell Robinson coming back. Bryan, how excited are you to see him back on the court?
I can't believe you insulted Mitchell Robinson and brought up David Robinson's name in his presence.
I know. He'll get there one day. That's a hot take.
The Cornette, they made it like the Cornette was just a matchup-based move for the Sixers game, and they're going to go back to Cornette and Vonleh. So that I'm excited for Mitchell Robinson. Can I ask you a question though? I don't get it. Why, like, basketball in London happens? They have like leagues there. Why is the Knicks and Wizards, two terrible teams, being there such a big deal? There's like 400 reporters going to cover this. I didn't think basketball in London was all that unique or anything crazy about it.
I think it's just the novelty of when professional teams come from the other countries. Because, for example, I think Barcelona and Juventus came to MetLife 2 years ago. No, last summer of 2017. And I went, and I think there was like 88,000 people there or something like that. And I mean, there was a lot of people there. There's a lot of press there. So, I mean, obviously those are like the best soccer teams in the world, but a lot of those teams from over there, even the regular ones that, like a Wizards team here, and people go to those. So I just think it's just the novelty of seeing the best in the world, speaking in terms of the league coming over and actually playing.
I was just going to say, watching the 2018-2019 Knicks will definitely turn some British people into huge basketball fans.
Yeah, right. Like as if. I mean, there's no spectacle. Right? There's no spectacle to these games. John Wall's not even out there. It's like you have no John Wall. You have you're basically going there to watch Bradley Beal, and the second biggest draw at this game is Kevin Knox.
Yes.
Yep.
I had a roommate one time my first roommate ever, my first year when I was a freshman in college. I moved into the dorm, and the first day I got there, he was moving out because he had received an offer to go play professional basketball in England, in some London league. And that sounds impressive, but this man, he looked like if Porzingis was put into a shrink ray. Like, it was just like, he was maybe 6'2", like maybe weighed 170 pounds. And like this guy's going over to play full professional basketball in England. I think even a Knicks-Wizards game is going to prove to be slightly more entertaining than some of the British leagues over there or whatever they may be called. But yeah, Mitchell Robinson being back, I am just so hyped to see some actual defense being played on the court. We've been talking about it for the last couple of pods, but it just feels like, Noah Vonleh is doing everything for himself. This is going to be a relief. I'm sure we're going to get a couple of perimeter blocks in this game. I just feel like Robinson's going to come out with a vengeance tomorrow. It's going to be fun to see.
I feel like he's played well against the Wizards, too, because he's gotten into those little tiffs with Markieff Morris in the preseason game and then the regular season game. I feel
he owns them, the Morris twins. He owns them.
Oh, yeah.
Already. It took like 15 games for him to own both of them.
That's a bad idea for his safety, though.
That's true.
That would not end well for him fighting the Morris twins.
For sure. He'd take a swift L.
I'm stalling right now as I try to find the Wizards record. And I just keep on clicking the same Google link over and over again, and it just takes me in this little loophole.
It's very bad.
But yeah, it's not great.
No, but they could make the playoffs. It is the East.
Well, there was a headline here a second ago, but oh man, there's a Ron Baker article up here too. There's like there's like 2 Ron Baker articles. That's such a shame.
He makes an impression wherever he goes. That's how important he is.
But he doesn't go anywhere for very long. The only reason he was in New York for 2 years was because of a no trade clause on his contract or a CBA rule.
A well-earned contract, I might add.
Is he just like in a gym somewhere in the Midwest right now, just like waiting for a phone call? Like, what is he doing now?
I like to think he's writing more children's books. He's working on a sequel.
He's in a gym somewhere, except the gym is a cornfield.
I think he is in an attic of a barn, and there is like workout equipment in one corner, and he is like writing in the other corner, and he just does nothing but walk between those two corners of this room, either writing a children's novel or series. and doing, but like I'd imagine he's wearing like an all gray sweatsuit that has like a little notch cut out of the front of it, and like a white headband while he curls plate weights in the corner.
Right, and he like helps the farmer out.
Right.
The old farmer.
He's doing essentially what like he's like doing what Bruce Wayne did in Batman, in the newer Batman series and Batman Beyond, where he goes to train with Qui-Gon Jinn. And it's just, it's the little, he's just taking a little getaway. He's going to help the farmer out a little bit. He's going to do some chores. He's going to learn a little something. He's going to learn the right way.
Then he's going to find out the farmer used to play basketball.
Right. And then Ron Baker will be Batman, and all has been solved. Is there anything else to talk about against the Wizards on for tomorrow night's game? Is there? I mean, we have Bradley Beal, we have Otto Porter Jr., Thomas Satoransky. I don't know if I can really tell you the rest of the roster beyond that. I've heard their center is pretty good. Is that Thomas Bryan?
Thomas Bryant. Yeah.
I'm disappointed you guys didn't just roll the farmer thing throughout the rest of the podcast and just have that go for another 30 minutes.
Farmer Ron, man.
Yeah. The baker becomes a farmer.
There we go. Maybe he'll take up bacon after this. He's got a story. He's gonna do like a Cody Parkey thing and just like create a whole fucking story out of this.
There you go.
There we go.
Wait, what did Cody Parkey do?
I mean, he's all over Good Morning America and everything. The missed field goal.
Missed field goal.
I knew that part. He did a media tour?
Yeah, he's doing a media tour behind it. Even after it came out that the ball was blocked.
Right, the ball was tipped. So
right.
It wasn't his fault.
Yeah, he's using this media tour to like basically promote his faith and that you have to stand up to adversity in moments like these when everything seems lost. Basically, he's shilling out his depression, his post-game depression.
That's a new one for a media tour. Never heard of such a thing for a losing kicker. Like Scott Norwood didn't go around bragging after he blew the Super Bowl for the Bills. Like, just go away and hide if you're a kicker and you screw up.
He also missed. Well, he missed 4 field goals in the game earlier this season.
Yes, but still won that game, I think.
Well, at some point, karma catches up to you, right?
Right.
All right, I think we might have covered it all as far as Knicks are concerned. Let's turn back to Kyle here. Kyle, you said there was another incident that happened to you where somebody found something in your home that wasn't supposed to be there.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was a rough.
You said you wanted to get them
hours.
in. You said you wanted to get them in, and now they're in.
So apparently my mother-in-law came over while we weren't here and found...
Who has a key to the house that you own?
Well, yeah, I mean, emergencies.
Okay, fair.
Sometimes I need the dogs to get taken out if I'm not here or something, but...
I rent and have 2 roommates, so this whole is foreign to me.
Yeah, so she may have found weed, and to her it's a big deal.
Devil's lettuce?
The devil's lettuce.
Oh, no.
So
you're talking about reefer here, right?
Yeah, I am, in fact. So, pot.
Your mother-in-law has no idea you smoke?
No.
How long have you been with your wife for?
6 years.
It's just really straight edge, are they cool with booze?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's just, they just don't think it's good for you. It happens.
Mother doesn't get high, dude?
Come on, dude.
She sounds fucking square.
So how did she respond when she picked, did she text you guys? Did she pick it up and investigate? Did she smell?
No, I wasn't here. She was here when we weren't here, and then she told my wife, and then I wasn't here when that happened.
Did you ground her?
No, but like a disappointing talking to.
If she was smart, she just shifted all the blame to you and blamed it on you. So she
That's
didn't get
right.
in trouble.
You did say you were going to fall on your sword, did you?
That's what we did. I was just like, just tell her it's because I needed it for, which this is all true, by the way, because Anthony knows I didn't smoke for quite some time, and then I started picking it up, and it mostly was because I was curious about the headaches, to be honest, and then I stayed for other reasons. But
you do suffer from migraines very, very commonly.
Because I have post-concussive syndrome, so I have just like random migraines that come, then they're like blinding, and I can't see very well, and
this explains so much. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, so we pawned it off on that, and I was like, look, I was just trying to use it for my headaches, and Jesse tried it out, no big deal. Stop being mad at us. It's 2019.
I think the only way to solve this is you and your mother-in-law have to take a trip to California and just get high.
That's what I said. That's what I was saying. You got to get stoned with her now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's not gonna happen.
Roll up a backwoods.
When she's not paying attention.
Roll up a backwoods. Walk in there, and just talk to her. Just say you gotta hit this loud.
So I'd walk out of there with a knife likely in the side of my neck.
I mean,
you're saying if she gets high, she's gonna stab you.
Oh no, I would just get stabbed anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't think
you
she
were
would.
afraid she might get violent.
No. She's just like has like a more old world mentality about it. So
Yeah, so he is falling on his sword, which I guess is a knife through the neck now in 2019.
we don't know if it's gonna work, but I'm trying.
Is there anything else we have to discuss tonight as far as the New York Knicks are concerned?
I'm gonna, now that the talks have picked up a little bit more, I'm just gonna ask. 'Cause I asked this a couple of weeks ago. How confident or not confident are you in that the Knicks are gonna get some kind of a deal done? Because now we're starting to hear guys like obvious guys were like from before, like Cantor. Like we figured they might be shopping Cantor, or Courtney Lee we heard about. But hearing a guy like Vonleh who's been really good and he's still pretty young, like now that's starting to sound like, I know it wasn't like anything about talks. It was just that the Sixers were interested in them. But how are we feeling now as we I think we're 3 weeks out from the trade deadline. So what do you guys think?
The trade deadline this year is on February 7th. That's so early. I mean, it's earlier than other years, but I'm really more surprised that talks haven't picked up a little bit more around the league, really, not even just with the Knicks. But I don't know. I just feel like there's a good chance that someone like Vonleh will be included as a sweetener to move out one of those bigger contracts. But I feel like Courtney Lee is going to be the one that's the most shopped around for the until the 7th comes around. I don't really see him moving. I feel like Enes Kanter is going to just end up with a buyout. I just feel like the Knicks don't have anything of great value around the league unless they were to, give up someone like Vonleh as well.
Yeah, or Frank.
But who would you rather of the two? If you're a Knicks fan sitting here and one's got to go because you got a big cap space clearing move in front of you, would you rather see Vonleh go, or would you rather see Frank go, or would you just rather it not be pulled off at all?
Oh, Vonleh for sure.
Yeah, just because of the contract situations,
Right.
you want the guy who's under team control.
For sure.
longer.
Right.
I would bet on them a smaller deal, something like the Moutier McDermott thing that comes out of nowhere. Like Vonleh gets shipped out for a player that's on a longer contract that's cheap or something like that. I don't know, something along the lines of that. I don't even know the player. And Cantor ends up getting bought out or just traded for someone that they buy out. Could be another thing. I don't think it'll be anything major, but I would bet that they make one minor trade before the deadline.
I'm basically in that boat as well. That's kind of interesting, though. Do you think something might happen with Moutier or even Trey Burke potentially?
if any team wants Trey Burke, I'm sure they can have him.
That's very true. What about Moutier?
For a second rounder or something. I don't see Trey getting much.
No, I don't see him getting much at all. I'm just wondering if he'll be on the team within 4 weeks' time. I guess Moutier is really the one I'm more curious about. Will the Knicks try to turn his season that he's had so far, which to our eyes probably seems mediocre, but maybe around the league kind of shines a little bit more? Do you think they could turn him into maybe a late first round pick or an early second or something of that nature?
I think they should if they can. I think this is probably the highest you'll ever be able to sell him. I think he's had some really nice games. He's proved that he can be a better scorer than he has been in years past. I think they should try to get rid of him. He's not in the future plans. I seriously doubt he's in the future plans. I think they should try to sell him because I think he's probably played maybe the best stretch of basketball he will play.
I agree that I don't think his value is ever going to get higher than it is right now. Yeah, but I think that's about it as far as guys that you can move on, that you're looking to move on from. Like, Lance Thomas has such a low guarantee on his contract next year that he'll just get waived. There's really no reason to try to move him. Cantor maybe is the other guy, but I don't see any teams biting on his contract, even if it's just through the rest of the year. Like Sacramento maybe, but they're just about the only one who can take him on for nothing, right?
Yeah.
Lance could be used as a salary filler.
That's true.
Like someone wanted Vonleh and they needed more money involved, but didn't want to take on more money. So
that's what a Fultz deal or something like that would kind of look like, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly. It'd have to be Vonleh and Lance if, say, they didn't want to take Courtney Lee because they don't want the money going forward. If they wanted to trade Zaire or Fultz to get him, they would have to do that.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I can't really think of anyone else who would need to be moved. I think that's pretty much going to do it for us tonight, right? It sounds like a resounding yes to me.
You're just going to let that sit there for a little bit.
It's all right. We do it every episode.
Kyle's rolling up a fat blunt right now.
Yeah, no, he's got to go see his mother-in-law in a second. It's all good. All right, well, thanks, everyone, for listening in. Thank you to David Futernick for coming by.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. It was fun.
Yeah, more than welcome to come back. Follow him at David Futernick. You can see him on shows sometimes. You turn on your screen, there he is. It's a great little surprise. Kyle Maggio is not on your screen, but in all of our hearts. Thanks for stopping by. And Bryan Gibberman, too. Make sure to follow our YouTube channel, us on Twitter, follow this podcast, give us a rate and review, all that good stuff. We will talk to you all, what's today, Wednesday? We'll talk to you all on Sunday night. All right, till then.